Go na ba? Hello, I am Caitlin.
And I'm Mia.
And I am Andrea.
Today, the three of us will take turns in sharing interesting stories about crimes in the fashion industry. One is about a really famous incident that inspired a Sofia Coppola film.
Another is about the death of a world-renowned fashion designer.
And lastly, my case is about the murder of the Canadian Playboy model.
So sit back and relax as you listen to these stories of true crimes of fashion. I'll start with the story that inspired the 2013 Sofia Coppola film starring Emma Watson and Tasia Farmiga. In 2009, a group of celebrity-obsessed teenagers almost got away with stealing $3 million worth of designer items. The group consisted of Rachel Lee, Alexis Nayers, Nick Prugo, Courtney Ames, and Diana Tamayo. They were only fresh high school graduates during that time of their first robberies, so about our age. Can you guys believe that? They lived in the Calabasas area, which was an area where a lot of celebrities lived. The five of them stole items such as high-end handbags, jewelry, perfumes, designer clothes, shoes, makeup, and even artworks hung in the homes of these celebrities. The very first victim was Paris Hilton, and reading the story for the first time made me laugh a bit. Okay, this is how it went. In December of 2008, Rachel and Nick decided to steal from Paris Hilton first because they believed she would be the type of person to leave her front door unlocked. In order to find the celebrity's address, they looked for it online and found a website that lists down different addresses of celebrities. So they rang the doorbell, and when no one answered, they opened the door that was indeed unlocked, even though they also found a spare key under the front door. Matt. They knew that Paris would be away at this time because of a tweet saying she would be hosting a party at Las Vegas. This first attempt was so successful, they went back to her place at least 3 or 4 more times. Paris just had so much stuff in her home that she didn't even notice anything was missing. The two had gotten so comfortable that Rachel even took the spare key and put it on her keychain. On another trip to the house, Rachel and Nick brought along other friends, and this is where they made a mistake. The robbery would have been unnoticed yet another time if someone hadn't stolen a duffel bag full of diamond jewelry worth about $2 million. So finally, Paris realized she was getting robbed and filed a police report. So now they had to move on to another celebrity. This time, they stole from Adriana Partridge, who again left her front door unlocked. Nick and Rachel entered her home easily. They were also sure the celebrity wouldn't be home since she was expected to attend Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher's party. But this time, they were caught on camera and Adriana noticed some of her things were missing immediately. The camera footage was aired on news and the story was featured in a lot of channels. Rachel, at the time, was still chill about the whole situation, while Nick Prugo was really nervous about the whole thing. She assured Nick that nothing would happen to them and moved on to the next victim. Still, they weren't identified and planned on stealing from Rachel Bilson next. Now with Diana Tamayo, they got away with stealing items worth $100,000 from Bilson's house in result of 5 trips. After, they hit other houses of more famous celebrities like Orlando Bloom, Miranda Kerr, Megan Fox, and Lindsay Lohan. So how were they caught? They actually could have gotten away with these robberies if they were more discreet about it. Instead, they bragged about it and talked about it all the time to their other friends. Rachel would even post pictures that included the stolen items. Eventually, someone snitched on the group and the police started their arrest. Since Nick Progo had already been feeling on edge about the whole situation for a while, he quickly caved and confessed to everything. Most of them got away with a few months of probation and community service. The longest sentence went to Rachel Lee, who got a 4-year sentence, but also managed to get out before serving even 2 years. Before the robberies, and this is a little backstory, Rachel and Nick actually got expelled from Calabasas High School. So they only got closer when they both found out that they were attending an alternative high school called Indian Hills. Rachel was obsessed with reality TV and celebrities. Her ultimate fashion icon was Lindsay Lohan. The obsession with celebrities brought the two closer. They actually robbed an acquaintance of theirs before hitting celebrity houses, and they were in 10th grade during that time. Courtney Ames as well as Diana Tamayo had been longtime friends of Rachel Lee. The group frequented bars and could enter underage because they had connections. A lot of the money were spent to fund their partying, alcohol, and drugs. They clearly didn't need the excessive amounts of money they were stealing, considering the fact that most of them grew up in well-off neighborhoods in California. Prior to these robberies, Rachel and Diana had already been caught stealing from Sephora. And both Nick and Alexis were already struggling with substance abuse. I think the craziest thing about this whole thing was how they got away with robbing most of these celebrities multiple times. Brian Austin Green and Megan Fox didn't even realize they were robbed until the police called to inform them about finding Brian's gun that was stolen from their home.
Wow, that's unbelievable that they stole from a lot of famous people.
Yeah.
And how about you, Andrea? What story do you have in store for us?
Well, the story I would like to share is about the assassination of one of the biggest names in the fashion industry, Gianni Versace. And as narrated by Nancy Biliou, a regular at the buzzy Ocean Drive restaurant, Versace bought a coffee, exchanged greetings with the manager, scooped up issues of Vogue and The New Yorker, and headed back to Casa Casuarina, the opulent palatial villa he'd spent millions acquiring and renovating. He walked up 5 marble steps and slipped his key into the lock on the iron gate. And at that precise moment, a dark-haired man wearing knee-length shorts, a gray tank top, a baseball cap, and a backpack surged up the same marble steps. Anjo Cunanan shot Gianni Versace, twice, execution style. Then he turned around and casually walked away. Cunanan, 27, was already a wanted man, a suspect in 4 murders in 3 states, and had gone into hiding in Miami more than 2 months earlier. Police soon identified him as Versace's murderer, and the frantic hunt for a man the media called a serial killer dominated the news cycle. While the police combed the Miami area, Versace's shattered siblings Donatella and Santo flew in from Milan. They claimed Gianni's body and returned to Italy, where on July 22, 1997, 1 week after his murder, Versace was given a funeral fit for a prince at the Duomo Milan's soaring 14th century cathedral. But these horrific acts had motives attached to them, as psychotic and savage as those motives may be. In the case of Versace, however, the why has remained a mystery. Cunanan told not a soul his reason for killing Versace and wrote nothing down. Rumors raged that he had gone on a killing spree to find out who infected him with HIV. However, an autopsy revealed that Cunanan didn't have the virus, and Versace's family members have always maintained that the designer did not have HIV. And on July 23, 1997, less than 2 weeks later after Versace was killed, the body of Andrew Cunanan was found in a houseboat off Miami Beach. He shot himself in the head, the same gun used to take the lives of 3 of his victims, including Versace. Cunanan's suicide brought an end to a nationwide manhunt, but it marked the beginning of a 2-decade-long search for answers. It's not as though law enforcement didn't try. Police forces in Minnesota, where the first 2 men were killed, and Chicago, the site of the 3rd murder, threw all possible manpower into investigating Cunanan's crimes and trying to locate him. Even before he had resurfaced in Miami, the FBI put Kalayaan on their 10 most wanted fugitives list, and the top-rated series Americans Most Wanted dedicated an entire segment to the case, which is kind of crazy. Ever since he committed his string of horrific murders, the life of Andrew Cunanan had been studied for clues. He did not seem destined for criminal infamy. Cunanan came from a middle-class San Diego family. His father was a Philippines-born stockbroker of varying success, and his mother an Italian-American homemaker who reportedly suffered from mental illness. One of the most striking aspects of Andrew Cunanan's life is that while he was interested in art, fashion, literature, and travel, his dead body was found next to a stack of magazines, including Vogue. He never at any time tried to work at a career that would put him in those worlds legitimately. The Versace family believes that the designer did not know Cunanan. At this point in his life, they say, Versace was a workaholic who went to bed early and cherished his committed long-term relationship. In the end, no one knows for certain if these two vastly different men crossed paths before July 15, 1997, or why Cunanan singled Versace out for death that day.
That's crazy. I never knew that Gianni Versace was murdered in such a way.
Yeah, I know. It's so weird to find out that Versace was actually killed. I thought he just passed away.
Yeah, same. It's so interesting.
So maybe Mia could share something less awful than Versace's case.
So, the story that I'm going to share is about the horrific murder of a Playboy playmate. As we all know, a Playboy was used to be an American lifestyle and entertainment magazine, but right now, it's already a luxury brand. It was founded in Chicago in 1953 by Hugh Hefner. Dorothy Stratton was a teenager working in Vancouver, Canada. She grabbed the attention of Paul Snider, a local pimp who aspired to be a Hollywood star. Paul recognized an opportunity in Dorothy and began grooming her in 1978. He eventually convinced her to participate in a nudist photo session, which he hoped would help Dorothy establish a career in Los Angeles, California. Over the next 2 years, she became a Playboy Playmate of the Year with an aspiring acting career. A Playboy Playmate is a woman featured in a magazine in a pictorial. So let's get to know more about the life of Dorothy Stratton. She started working at Dairy Queen as a young teen to help her mother, who worked in a school cafeteria. She had worked there for 4 years, through all of high school, and when Snyder walked in one day and saw her. At the time, Paul had a pretty good living as a promoter for automobile shows. Mariel Hemingway, who is an artist in Star 80, said that Snyder took advantage of Dorothy's insecurities. Star 80 is a 1983 drama movie. Someone also said that Paul would compliment Dorothy on the things about which she felt most vulnerable, which is really awful. She said he will also shower her with expensive gifts, nice dinners, and even a gown to wear when he took her to the senior prom. She was still a teenager then, and he was 26. Can you believe that? Paul Snyder comes and takes Dorothy to her high school prom, and she really feels uncomfortable. In 1978, Playboy hosted the Great Playmate Hunt contest to scout for a new playmate to be featured in the centerfold of its 25th anniversary issue the following year. Someone says Paul convinced the 18-year-old Dorothy to be photographed by a professional photographer. She said it took her 2 weeks to agree to this one. When the magazine saw Dorothy's best shots, Marilyn Grabowski saw the beauty in her and wanted her in the next win. Grabowski is the magazine's former West Coast photo editor who worked with its founder Hugh Hefner for over 40 years. When Dorothy arrived at the Playboy offices, Grabowski said she explained to Dorothy that they would take some test shots, send her home, and then let her know if she made the cut. Dorothy Stratton marries Paul Snyder, but their relationship begins to unravel. As Playboy continued to welcome Dorothy into its world, Paul was left out more. Eric Roberts, who's an actor in Star 80, said that Paul was offensive and that he looked and acted small-time. Several people who were at the Playboy Mansion at the time said that almost everyone was turned off by Paul. Someone spoke about Paul spending time in the mansion's infamous water-filled grotto. He would be in the grotto trying to make out with other girls, even though he had the most beautiful girl already. How can this man be so unfaithful? Paul was eventually caught with another girl, according to former Playboy social secretary Alison Reynolds, who also did Dorothy's makeup. The security kicked him off the property and that they would only allow him back if he came with Dorothy. Everybody is opposed to their marriage, but Dorothy went through with it because she didn't think she could get out of it. As Paul's control over Dorothy and her career rapidly unraveled, he started to become desperate. Dorothy moved in with Bogdanovich once they returned from filming in New York because Paul and Dorothy already separated. During that time, she messaged Paul and expressed wishes for an amicable separation. She also mentioned a settlement for Paul because he had helped her to get her to Hollywood. It was also around this time that Paul tried to get a gun. He borrowed a .38 revolver from a friend and waited outside Bogdanovich's house. Soon after, Paul's friend asked for the gun back. Then, Paul bought a 12-gauge shotgun from the classified ads. He picked it up on the night of August 13, 1980, and on August 14, 1980, Dorothy went over to the house that she once shared with Paul. Kushner and Lorman to try to negotiate a settlement with her husband as part of their divorce. The two of them were just watching TV upstairs, assuming that Paul and Dorothy had reconciled and were downstairs together. Finally, after a few hours of silence, Kushner and Norman said they decided to knock on Paul's bedroom door, but there was no answer. Then Kushner opened the door inside. Inside, they found Paul and Dorothy's naked bodies. Both were dead. It looked like it was a horror movie, a staged horror movie like a mannequins and fake blood. Police later determined that Paul had raped Dorothy and shot her in the face with a 12-gauge shotgun before turning the gun on himself. Dorothy was 10 years old. The horrific murder-suicide of the rising star and her husband sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Paul ultimately had to do what he did, and basically to Hefner, to Bogdanovich, and to everybody else, to society in general. Put up no one, but two middle fingers instead. That's what you get for messing with Paul Snyder, Kushner said. Both Bogdanovich and Hefner were devastated over losing Dorothy. Hugh Hefner was never the same. Part of him is dead. Part of all of us died because Dorothy was special to them. Dorothy was buried in the same Los Angeles cemetery as Marilyn Monroe. Bogdanovich chose the inscription of her tombstone, a quote from Ernest Hemingway's novel A Farewell to Arms.
Well, that is not less awful than Versace's kiss. It is absolutely horrendous how a young girl could be caught up in that mess.
The fashion industry is not as harmless as it may seem.
Yeah, and we could definitely learn a lot from these stories and become more vigilant.
Yeah, I agree with you all. And well, I guess that's all the time we have for today. So thank you so much for tuning in and be sure to listen to the next episodes of the Kalayaan podcast and watch our exciting launch on February 28th. Bye.
Thank you.